A concert hall falls completely silent. A pianist sits down. The first note hits, and the room freezes, not because it is beautiful, but because it feels impossible. Massive chords, unnatural reach, a sound so full it feels orchestral. This is Sergei Rachmaninoff. But decades earlier, in a dim Paris salon, another man played a single melody, and people began to cry within seconds. This is Frédéric Chopin. Two pianists, two completely different worlds, one built on power, the other on emotion. So the question is, was Rachmaninoff better than Chopin? His childhood began on the family estate at Semyonovo, surrounded by woods, horses, and the sound of distant bells. The Rachmaninoffs were landowners, upper middle class, not quite aristocrats, but close enough to taste it. That world vanished almost overnight. His father's debts forced the sale of Semyonovo, then Oneg, the estate where Sergei spent his earliest years. By the age of 9, the future titan of the piano was living in a cramped apartment in St. Petersburg, his parents separated, the family fortune gone. Loss became his teacher. Discipline became his shield. His mother sent him to Moscow to live with his aunt, and there he met Nikolai Zverev, a strict, almost military piano tutor who demanded hours of daily practice. Zverev's apartment was a boot camp for prodigies, and Rachmaninoff learned to treat the piano as both a weapon and a refuge. Later he studied under Alexander Soloty, a direct pupil of Franz Liszt, and Sergei Taneyev, who had been Tchaikovsky's favorite student. Every lesson carried the weight of Russian tradition and the expectation of greatness, outplaying his rivals at the Moscow Conservatory. When he graduated in 1891, he took home the gold medal for his opera Aleko, a composition so bold it stunned his examiners. But the applause masked a pressure that would haunt him to rebuild what his family had lost and to prove that his sound was vast, orchestral, almost impossible, and could fill the void left by a vanished world. Frédéric Chopin entered the world in 1810 at Zelazowa Wola, a country manor on the edge of Warsaw's forests. His first notes echoed through drawing rooms, not concert halls. By age 8, he played for the Polish aristocracy, dazzling guests with a touch so light it seemed to float above the keys. In Warsaw's salons, candlelight flickered on polished pianos, while Chopin's fingers spun melodies that lingered long after the final chord. These rooms, intimate and exclusive, became his first audience, shaping a composer who would always write for the listener just a few feet away. The world outside was shifting. In 1831, as revolution swept through Poland, Chopin left his homeland behind. Paris became his refuge, a city humming with artists, exiles, and the restless energy of change. He arrived with little more than a suitcase of manuscripts, joining a circle that included Franz Liszt and George Sand. Here, Chopin found both inspiration and a kind of loneliness. He rarely played in public. Instead, he preferred the hush of the salon, where music could speak in whispers and sighs. In these private gatherings, Chopin's style matured. The grand gestures of the concert stage held little appeal. What mattered was nuance, the way a single phrase could bend and shimmer, the way silence could be as expressive as sound. Critics sometimes called him limited, too fragile for the big halls, too subtle for mass acclaim. Yet his music spread note by note through Paris's elite, carried by word of mouth and the hands of his students. This was not the world of thunderous ovations or sweeping orchestras. It was a world built on intimacy, restraint, and the belief that the deepest emotions are often spoken softly. Rachmaninoff's Symphony No. 1 was supposed to announce a new force in Russian music. Instead, the night collapsed. Alexander Glazunov, the conductor, showed up drunk. The orchestra stumbled. Critics didn't just pan the symphony, they tore it apart. César Cui wrote that if there were a conservatory in hell, Rachmaninoff's symphony would be the prize assignment. The reviews hit like a sledgehammer. Rachmaninoff, 24, retreated into silence. For 3 years, he barely wrote a note. His friends called it a living death. Desperation drove him to Dr. Nikolai Dahl, a Moscow physician who believed in a new therapy, hypnotic suggestion. Day after day, Rachmaninoff sat in Dahl's study. The doctor repeated these words, "You will compose again. Your music will be beautiful." It sounded like fantasy, but something shifted. By 1901, Rachmaninoff emerged with his Piano Concerto No. 2, a work so massive and raw it seemed to rise from the ashes of his collapse. He premiered it himself in Moscow. The audience roared. The concerto swept Europe, then America. Money poured in. Sheet music sold in the millions. Rachmaninoff was famous, finally, but the cost was carved into every bar, failure therapy, and the weight of expectation. His hands became legend. Myths grew of a span so wide he could cover 13 white keys, almost impossible for ordinary pianists. The cadenza of his third concerto, with its brutal chords and relentless octaves, turned the piano into an orchestra. Some called it a test of superhuman strength. Others called it pure showmanship, music built for spectacle, not for the soul. But every time Rachmaninoff played, the world heard thunder reforged into sound. The scars of his past didn't disappear, they echoed, louder than ever, in the music that made him immortal. Chopin's body was a battleground. Tuberculosis stalked him for decades, draining his strength, hollowing his frame to less than 100 pounds. Each cough, each fever, was a reminder that his time at the piano might be measured in months, not years. Public concerts became rare, sometimes just a handful in an entire season. The grand stages of Paris and London offered applause, but also risk. His lungs could not withstand the force demanded by cavernous halls. Instead, Chopin chose the salon, a world of velvet chairs and candlelight, where every sigh and hesitation could be heard. His music did not shout. It whispered, glimmered, vanished into silence. The Etudes, Opus 10 published in 1833, Opus 25 in 1837, were not just technical exercises, they were miniature dramas, each one a test of control and colour. Robert Schumann called them canon buried in flowers. Critics in the 1830s and the 1840s dismissed some as too fragile, too inward. They complained of ghostly passages and a touch that barely brushed the keys. Yet for Chopin, limitation became a weapon. He invented a new kind of virtuosity, not thunder, but the ability to bend time itself. Rubato was his rebellion. The right hand floated, stealing time from the left, shaping phrases that seemed to hover just above the beat. Some called it capricious, even self-indulgent. Maurice Schlesinger, writing in 1838, accused Chopin of turning rhythm into personal fantasy. But in these stolen moments, Chopin found freedom. He made the piano sing, not roar. The world called him delicate. He answered with music that lingers, long after the last note fades. In Chopin's hands, fragility was not a flaw. It was a force, as powerful as any storm. Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 racks up over 1 billion streams, with Lang Lang and Yuja Wang drawing millions of listeners to performances that feel like symphonic battles. Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat, Opus 9, No. 2, quietly outpaces even that, with 1.5 billion streams. It is a favorite for late-night playlists and study sessions around the world. In conservatories from Moscow to New York, Chopin's etudes are non-negotiable. Every diploma, every competition, every serious pianist must pass through his gauntlet. Rachmaninoff's concertos, meanwhile, dominate the finals. They are tests of power, endurance, and fearlessness. In the numbers, both composers are everywhere, in the hands of students, in the hearts of listeners, in the programming of every major hall. The debate is not just academic, it is alive, measured in billions of plays and the pressure of every new generation trying to conquer or survive them. Rachmaninoff's hands left their mark on the earliest piano rolls. Hundreds of performances were captured between 1919 and 1942, his own thunder and sweep locked onto spinning reels. Chopin died in 1849, decades before recording technology. His voice survives only through the fingers of others. Every new interpreter, Martha Argerich, Maurizio Pollini, and Daniil Trifonov, reshapes Chopin's world, filtered through microphones and modern pianos. In film, Rachmaninoff's Concerto No. 2 surges in climactic scenes, from Brief Encounter to The 7-Year Itch. Chopin's nocturnes haunt the quiet moments in The Pianist, whispered in 1,000 soundtracks. One composer's echo is direct, the other endlessly refracted. Greatness now is measured in what survives the recording gap, and in how each legacy keeps rewriting itself. Tonight, the world's concert halls still echo with their rivalry: power against poetry, fire against fragility. Critics debate, virtuosos choose sides, audiences hunger for both. Greatness isn't settled in notes or fame, but in the tension between impact and difficulty. Where do you stand? Drop your answer below.